Hi friends, welcome to a brand new video from Finance Factory. So the topic for today's discussion is delisting of shares. As you are aware, there are a lot of news going on in the market with respect to the delisting of Vedanta shares. So it is in this context we have decided to take up this particular topic for today's discussion. So to give you a backdrop of what has happened with respect to Vedanta. So the board of Vedanta met on May 18 and they decided to go ahead with the delisting process of Vedanta shares from Indian exchanges. An indicative price of 87.5 rupees was also fixed for the delisting process. So this indicative price is just a preliminary price. It is not the final price at which the transaction will happen. So now before going into the details of the delisting process, let us try to understand what a delisting is. So delisting can be either done voluntarily, as in case of Vedanta, where the board itself initiates the delisting process, or it can be done compulsorily by the exchange or the regulators as a punitive measure. So now, why would a company voluntarily delist its shares from the exchanges? There are multiple reasons why a company may think so. So if the company thinks that the market value is not a true reflection of the entity anymore, then the promoters may think about taking the company private. Also, in a publicly listed company, for any major corporate restructuring or a major liability reassignment or a change in the capital structure, you need the approval of shareholders, you need to pass the regulatory scrutiny. So the process of a corporate restructuring can take much more time in a publicly listed company. So if the company is planning to make any major corporate restructuring, it is easier to do it as a private entity, and it gives the promoter better control of the company when it is a private company than a public company. So there are multiples of reasons like this, but compulsory delisting usually comes as a punitive action. The exchange or the regulator may ask a company to compulsorily delist from the exchanges if the company has incurred losses for 3 consecutive years or have a negative net worth. It can also be done because of the trading suspension in the stock for a period of more than 6 months, or if the shares are traded not very frequently in the last 3 years. It can also be done if the director or any officer in charge is convicted with respect to non-compliance of regulations of SEBI for a period of more than 3 years. So now, in case it is a voluntary delisting and if it is a complete delisting means you are taking your shares of all the exchanges in a country, then it's a complete delisting. It is mandatory that you should give the investors an exit opportunity before you delist the shares. So this is the overall picture regarding delisting. Now let me walk you through the entire process or procedure of delisting. As you have seen, the delisting process starts with the board meeting. So if once the board meeting gives the approval for delisting, it is informed to the exchange that the delisting process is underway. Now the next major step is passing of a special resolution. Please note that in an ordinary resolution, you need a simple majority for the resolution to pass. But in a special resolution, suppose if there are 10 people who are opposing this resolution, you need to get at least 20 votes in favor of the resolution. So this special resolution will be done with the public shareholders. Basically, the question will be whether they are in approval of the delisting process. And for this special resolution to pass, the number of people voting in favor of resolution should be at least twice the number of people who are against this resolution. And if the company gets approval at this stage, then it is called in principle approval, and the company will go ahead and inform the stock exchange that they have received in principle approval for delisting of shares. Now after this stage, a merchant banker will be appointed. So the role of the merchant banker will be to find the conduct the reverse book building process and to do a price discovery. So as you are aware, when a company goes public or during an IPO, a book building process is done to find out the price at which the shareholders are ready to buy the shares from the company. The reverse book building process is entirely the opposite process. So in reverse book building process, they find out the price at which the investors are ready to sell the share back to the company. So this is called the floor price, and once the reverse book building process is completed, a public announcement will be made. This public announcement will have details of the entire procedures conducted till now. And shortly after the public announcement, the letter of offer will be sent to each public shareholder. So once the public shareholder receives this letter of offer, he will have to do two major things. So the letter of offer will ask you the consent for delisting. So as a shareholder, you can mark yes or no. And the second question, the letter of offer will ask an investor is the price at which he is ready to sell the share back to the company. So this is the bidding process. So please note that a delisting process can even fail at the letter of offer stage. For a delisting to be successful, at least 90% of the shareholders should be willing to sell their shares back to the company. So only if 90% of the shareholders say yes at the letter of offer stage, the delisting will be successful, or else it can fail at this stage. Now, once the investor receives the letter of offer, they will mark their consent in favor or against, and they will put in a bid price. The price basically reflects at the price at which they are ready to sell. Now, the company will set the final price at a level where it seems that 90% of the public shareholders will be ready to give back their shares. So to understand this, let us say the bidding process is being done and the investors are marking several price ranges. So somebody is marking 100 rupees, somebody is marking 110 rupees, somebody is marking 120, somebody is marking 130, somebody is marking 140, and it goes on till 200. And company finds out that at the price of 165, at least 90% of the shareholders will be ready to give back their shares. So still there will be 10% who is not ready. Their quoted price will be higher than 165. But for the resolution to pass through, they need 90% of the shares. So then they fix that particular price as the final price. Now, even at this stage, the company has an option to reject the final price. If they feel that the final price put in by the investors is too high, then they can reject the final price and the cycle will start again. And in case the company accepts the final price, then there is a 1 year period starting from the final price acceptance and completion of the documentation with exchanges. Within the next 1 year, the public shareholders can sell their shares back to the company at this final price. So after 1 year, the process will be complete. And if you do not exercise your right to sell back the shares in the next 1 year, after the final price is approved and the process is started, basically you will be holding on to a illiquid asset because after 1 year these instruments will be delisted from the exchanges and it will be very difficult for you to sell these shares. So this is about the entire delisting process. Hope you learned a lot about delisting. Thank you. Have a good day.